The moment police officers opened Justin Lee's hard drive, the silence inside the interrogation room was instantly shattered as 27 files documenting his assaults on women appeared before their eyes. Everything decrypted from that device destroyed the polished facade he once carried into the lavish parties of the elite. Behind that seemingly refined exterior was a deeply corrupted nature, so disturbing that even the most seasoned investigators were left stunned. In many of the decoded videos, the victims lay motionless, completely unconscious, unable to resist or comprehend anything happening to them. The public at the time wasn't just outraged, they were horrified by the level of coldness and calculation displayed by someone once regarded as one of the most powerful heirs in Taiwan. The background that led to these crimes can be traced back to his family, where the name Lee Yukong was synonymous with money, power, and a complicated romantic life. His father had studied in Japan, and upon returning, quickly became the head of Yuanta Financial Holdings, one of Taiwan's largest securities companies at the time. He was also notorious for pursuing famous actresses such as Angela Ying and Luo Peiying. These images repeated endlessly before young Lee's eyes, turning his father's extravagant lifestyle into a distorted model he subconsciously absorbed. Meanwhile, his biological mother, Shi Jingxiu, entered the picture through a completely different path. She had once been a celebrated beauty in Taipei's nightlife scene, widely referred to as the celebrated beauty of 9 nations. Thanks to that reputation, she was invited to an exclusive party attended by executives from major corporations. There, Shi Jingqiu's allure quickly caught the attention of Li Yuechang, and the distance between them closed after just a few moments of conversation. A night of intimacy followed that chance encounter, planting the seed of the life growing inside her. From that turning point, Shi Jingqiu chose to keep the child forming in her womb. Wanting to give her baby a better future, she gave birth to Justin Lee and built 307 Club by herself, an upscale venue frequented by the elite. However, the demanding environment and her complicated relationships there left her with less and less time for her son. It was in those circumstances that Li Yuchang suddenly demanded custody of the boy when Justin turned 10, sending his life in an entirely new direction. From a child accustomed to watching his mother struggle under countless pressures, he was abruptly thrust into a world where money and power were simply a given. Luxurious mansions, extravagant parties, and admiration from outsiders quickly consumed his new reality. That drastic shift made him the center of attention among the upper class. The wealth of the Lee family continued to propel Justin into an almost guaranteed position of inheritance, fostering in him a sense of overwhelming power, one that slowly eroded his sense of moral boundaries. This became even more apparent during his years studying abroad. Away from his family and free from any restraints, Justin Lee freely burned through money on all-night parties, where hard liquor and hedonistic gatherings became part of his daily routine. Friends from that time recalled that whenever someone heard the phrase "Young Master Lee," everyone knew the entire bill would be taken care of. No questions asked. This lifestyle pulled him further away from reality as he stopped caring about the consequences of his actions and gradually developed a habit of seeking pleasure far beyond normal boundaries. After returning to Taiwan, the chaos in Justin Lee's personal life only continued to grow. A string of short-lived relationships left him constantly unsatisfied, pushing him to pursue increasingly dangerous behaviors. Then a deeply twisted idea emerged, leading him down the path of using sedatives to render women unconscious before assaulting them. From that point on, Justin Lee became even more terrifying, meticulously recording everything that happened as if these videos were proof of the distorted dominance he sought. The situation finally exploded in 2011 when 2 sisters decided to report his behavior. The younger sister had been his girlfriend, but after drinking a cup of water handed to her by Justin, she immediately lost consciousness and woke up to find she had been assaulted. Even more horrifying, she accidentally discovered the video documenting everything on his computer. When her older sister confronted him for an explanation, she became a victim in the same way. Instead of showing remorse, Justin Lee threatened to release all the footage if they dared to reveal what had happened. Although their initial accusation failed because the Lee family was wealthy and knew how to exert pressure, the sisters' courage inspired other victims to come forward, triggering the largest wave of allegations ever made against a single member of the upper class. When police were finally permitted to search Justin Lee's home, they found 93 videos and 176 photos arranged alphabetically from A to Z, an archival method so disturbing that even the investigators shuddered. From this database, authorities identified at least 60 women who appeared in the footage. Once the contents of the computer were fully decrypted, police immediately realized the severity of the case. Not only did the videos include models and female entertainers, but also individuals recognizable from children's programs, sending public outrage to its peak. The appearance of images of Liang Tianting, known as Justin Lee's stepmother, shifted the case into an entirely different realm. Investigators could hardly believe that even a member of his own family could become a victim. Liang Tianting's testimony left investigators more shaken than any of the videos. She recounted that during a family visit, Justin Lee handed her a glass of water, and only minutes later, her consciousness slipped into a void. When she regained consciousness, her clothes disheveled in a completely unfamiliar room, Tianting immediately understood that something terrible had happened. The truth later devastated Li Yuchang, not only because of the cruelty of the act, but also because Tianting discovered she was pregnant after the incident. Faced with overwhelming fear and confusion, she had no choice but to reveal everything in order to protect herself and the life barely beginning to form inside her. Meanwhile, as the media reported the growing number of victims, Taiwanese society plunged into turmoil. The public simply could not accept that someone so wealthy could abuse his power to such an extent. Many who had once been acquainted with Justin Lee rushed to deny any association, including model Joyce and several other entertainers. Online, netizens continuously searched for clues about the individuals appearing in the videos, increasing the pressure on the Lee family day by day to the point where every attempt at concealing the truth became futile. Amid the public outcry, Justin Lee chose to evade responsibility. On the day police issued their first summons, he disappeared without a trace, forcing authorities to issue a nationwide warrant. Rumors spread rapidly. Some claimed he was hiding in familiar nightclubs, while others insisted he was being protected by organized crime groups. A gang even offered a reward for capturing him. During this period, his father, Li Yuechang, overwhelmed by the immense pressure, was forced to resign from his key position at the financial company he once led. At that time, news of the case dominated every media outlet. The Lee family faced enormous public pressure, as people demanded that Justin Lee be brought to justice cornered with no way out. He eventually appeared at the police station with his lawyer to announce his intention to surrender. However, what angered many was his insistence that everything had been consensual and that he had forced no one. This blatant denial only deepened the victim's trauma, while the public saw it as the arrogance of a man who believed money could bend everything to his will. The investigation that followed dragged on for years because the Lee family's legal team continuously found ways to delay the process. Numerous hearings were halted due to defense requests for additional forensic reviews or procedural complaints. At one point, they even countersued individuals who had shared images online, making the case even more complicated. Public frustration grew when reports emerged that some evidence had been deemed unclear due to technical errors during collection. These delays fueled suspicions that the legal system was being bent by the Lee family's financial power. During the years he was detained awaiting trial, Justin Lee's life inside the detention center also became a topic of controversy. With financial support from his biological mother, Shi Jingxiu, he enjoyed conditions most inmates could never obtain. She frequently brought cash to the facility to ensure he received lighter work assignments and reduced daily burdens. In the beginning, he worked in the printing workshop, but after just 3 months he was transferred to the paper folding unit, considered the most comfortable assignment in the detention center. There were even rumors that the warden allowed him to sleep in a private room, sparking public outrage because no one wanted to see a serious offender enjoy such privileges. Nevertheless, during the first trial, Justin Lee was found guilty of assaulting multiple women and ordered to pay substantial compensation, yet he continued to deny most of the accusations. The High Court later reviewed the case and delivered the final verdict, nearly 30 years in prison for the offender. This was considered the harshest sentence ever imposed in Taiwan for a sexual assault case involving a wealthy individual. Even after the verdict, the Lee family continued seeking ways to reduce his sentence. Through compensation payments and legal maneuvering, they hoped to find opportunities to shorten Justin Lee's imprisonment. In the following years, information about Justin Lee became sparse as the case had reached its legal conclusion. But starting in 2021, his name unexpectedly resurfaced in news related to the prison, not due to disciplinary violations, but because he was participating in a lantern-making program organized by the correctional authorities. What shocked many was that his lantern designs won first-class awards 3 years in a row. Some news outlets even published photos of his lanterns, featuring themes of freedom and environmental awareness, raising public concern over whether this was an attempt to rehabilitate the image of someone who had inflicted so much harm. According to Taiwanese media sources, Justin Lee's lantern creations were displayed at the Taiwan Lantern Festival, an event that attracts thousands of visitors. His particular piece, centered around the theme of the ocean and the balance of nature, surprised many as it seemed completely at odds with the reality of his life. The repeated awards fueled speculation that the prison had favored him due to his family's influence. Despite his achievements in rehabilitation programs, the public could not forget the crimes Justin Lee had committed. Numerous women's rights organizations in Taiwan emphasized that no effort to refresh his public image could replace legal and moral accountability. They stressed that the victims still live under the shadow of traumatic memories, and seeing the offender appear in the media through artistic recognition only deepens their pain. In 2024, when Justin Lee applied for a reduced sentence, a wave of backlash erupted immediately. His lawyer argued that the defendant had shown remorse and contributed to society by donating $14.7 million to public welfare initiatives. However, the court rejected the request, stating that his crimes were far too severe and that his past actions could not be erased so easily. The decision was swiftly applauded by the public, who believed that the nearly 30-year sentence was necessary to reflect the full extent of the atrocities associated with his name. In public discussions, one prominent topic was the long-standing power of the Lee family over the past several decades. Their attempts to help Justin Lee reduce his sentence raised an important question. Are wealthy families becoming too lax in the way they educate and supervise their children? To explain this, many analysts pointed out that from a very young age, he lived in an environment where every need was immediately fulfilled, with little supervision and no guidance on moral values. At the same time, his mother was busy running the 307 Club, while his father was caught up in various romantic affairs, leaving him to grow up in emotional neglect. No one taught him boundaries or how to respect others. This lack of oversight helped shape Justin Lee into someone who misused power and wealth to harm numerous women. What made the public even more outraged was the fact that most victims were too afraid to speak up, fearing public judgment or pressure from the Lee family. Many worried that having their identities exposed would severely damage their careers and futures. Because of this, the courage of the first individuals who came forward played an extremely important role. They not only spoke out for themselves, but also paved the way for many other women to be recognized as victims. Thanks to them, the legal system finally had the foundation it needed to confront a case of unprecedented scale in Taiwan's modern history. Looking back at the entire story, the Justin Lee case is not just a personal tragedy, but also a reflection of deeper issues within society, from excessive indulgence to uncontrolled hedonism. It raises serious questions about family responsibility, the environment in which children are raised, and the moral values of the upper class. Does wealth truly bring happiness, or is it merely a curtain that hides the tragedies simmering beneath?